Hi, I'm Ariel, and I lead B2B marketing here at Foursquare. And I'm really excited to be joined here today by Philipp Singer. Foursquare recently hosted a data science competition on a platform called Kaggle, and Philipp was one of the winners. So we're really excited to hear more about his experience and learn more about him. So, Philipp, to start off, perhaps you could just quickly introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Philipp Singer. I am born and living in Austria, in Vienna, to be precise. My background is have a PhD in computer science, and currently I work in a AI company called H2O AI, where I'm mainly focusing on deep learning and computer vision and NLP, which also fits well to this competition that we will talk about.
Awesome. So were you familiar with Foursquare before joining this competition, and what did you know about us and what we do?
Yeah, I was definitely familiar with Foursquare. I mean, Foursquare is already around for quite some time, and actually also in my early research times, some people used some data from Foursquare, so it is around for some time. Yeah, so I'm familiar that it's about locations, points of interest, yeah, and that you can
Yeah,
check in, that you can rate. So quite a lot of stuff about locations, basically.
awesome. Um, and so what intrigued you to join Foursquare's competition on Kaggle when you happened upon it?
Yeah, so the problem type in itself intrigued me because I was having some similar problems that are not directly related, but about matching and finding duplicates and matching in the past myself. And yeah, so from the get-go, the data looked interesting, the problem looked interesting, and I am quite active on Kaggler, so I was looking for a new competition to participate in, and that's how I started with the whole competition and working on it.
Amazing. Um, that's really interesting to hear that there were sort of similarities with the challenge with some of the other problems that you're solving, either at work or outside of work, maybe in other competitions. Could you perhaps give a summary of what the competition was for the listeners?
Mhm. Yeah, so it was a combination of textual and tabular kind of features for locations. So you have like the name of a location, you have the longitude, latitude of a location, you have some other features like what categories is this location in. And in the end, the goal is to match the same points of interest together. So yeah, people on Foursquare probably enter these locations in multiple different ways, and it's coming from different systems. And the idea is to find a model that can properly aggregate and match similar points of interests to each other. And because I said before that I had this use case in the past, it's very similar to other kind of use cases like companies I worked, I needed to match different customers to each other, right? Which have like names, age, other properties. So in that sense, I was a little bit familiar with the problem, but the solution was definitely different than how I solved it in the past.
Right. So that brings me to my next question, which was, what was your approach to solving this problem? Can you run us through the process that led you to a winning solution?
Mhm. Yeah, so you can solve this problem with some simple rules in the beginning. So that's what most people tried in the beginning. So you can just have something like find based on the longitude and latitude data, find other locations in the proximity of this longitude latitude. So you could give it some radius, and then you could say, okay, something that is in a very short radius is probably similar. And you can do some simple like string similarity between the names. So if this name is close to this name of the location of the point of interest, and the longitude latitude is very similar, maybe it's a match. But in the actual data, this is not enough because there is noise in the data. There is like some peculiarities. There's some certain areas which are different across the world because it's worldwide data. So we needed a more advanced solution, I would say, that can really learn what locations should match together. And in that sense, in the last 2-3 years, there has been a lot of new research in deep learning in NLP related solutions. And I tried and I have worked on similar problems also in computer vision, where, for example, recently I have worked on a competition that needs to match pictures of whales to the exact whale. So you have like the fin of a whale, and you need to know this is whale 1, so you need to match the images just on the picture of the fin of the whale. And here, and this kind of area is usually called metric learning. So it's kind of, you try to find a representation of something that you can match together. And yeah, I from the get-go, after these very baseline methods that I mentioned beforehand, I wanted to solve this with deep learning methods because this is what personally interests me. And yeah, in this case, it's NLP, so it's natural language processing, because mostly it's about the name and the category, which is all natural text and not about computer vision, but the techniques in the end are quite similar. So yeah, I solved this with deep learning and NLP based methods that train a model on so-called metric learning task, and then you get an embedding. So it's just a long vector for a certain record, and then you do a similarity search on this vector. Yeah, so you try to find what is the most similar other record in your data set based on some similarity ranging from 0 to 1. So you get, for example, 0.7, so 70% similarity from this to this. And yeah, that's how I solved it in the end. And then for each record, you can build a ranking of most likely other records, and this is then your output for the task.
Got it. And so, were there any obstacles or major challenges that you ran into while working through the competition?
Yeah, I think the main obstacle was getting the longitude and latitude to work with an NLP model, because the longitude and latitude is not actual text. So in an NLP model, you have like as input usually just raw text, right? So the name, the category, you can just concatenate it and say this is a record. And I played long time like combining some more tabular approaches for this longitude latitude with the textual models. But in the end, I had a breakthrough kind of for the solution after I just added this longitude latitude as kind of a text, which sounds silly, but in the end it worked, because nowadays these NLP transformer models can work quite well with different kinds of representations. So yeah, this was maybe a challenge and a breakthrough, just seeing everything as NLP and working with that.
Got it. So you had to treat, even though the lat long is sort of numbers, you had to treat it as language. Interesting.
Yes.
So do you have any key takeaways or learnings that you gained from this competition that you'll be able to use moving forward?
Yeah, as I said before, like this type of metric learning and deep learning similarity search is usually more known from computer vision area, where like people use it for like finding similar faces, finding similar whales, finding like it's used on product websites where you upload an image of a product, and they are trying to find like images that have already been used in the past for this type of product. Even on Google, you can upload an image, right, and find similar images to that one. So that is all kind of similarity search on computer vision. And while I have used this kind of technique already in the past for NLP, just like some semi-degree success, it's maybe my takeaway is that it can be also used in NLP and for such tasks as the one at hand here in this competition. So that's maybe my takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting that there's similarities from these different scenarios that wouldn't necessarily be obviously so similar. Um, and so I know that you're a big Kaggler. Um, what motivates you to, use Kaggle and spend so much of your free time on these competitions?
Yeah, first of all, it's a place for me to always stay on top of the state of the art, because it's like a platform where people compete. I mean, it's a competition, right? And people take it serious, and they will always try their best, and you really need to push yourself forward to finding a good solution in a competition on a problem. And so yeah, for me, it's on the one hand, it's definitely the place, a good place for me to stay up to date with what works, have new learnings. I try to tackle problems that I'm not 100% familiar. So yeah, this was something I was semi-familiar, but definitely something that where I learned a lot. And yeah, so this is one thing, and yeah, the gamification and competition is definitely another thing that pushes me, and yeah, I'm a competitive person, so I enjoy such environments.
Wonderful. Well, we were so happy to have you participate and so glad to see the innovative solution that you came up with. And we really appreciate you sharing more about your experience today. So thank you so much, Philip.
Sure, thanks, and thanks for hosting such competitions.